In this video, I show you how to do a project that's not only a terrible waste of your time, but also your money. I'm never gonna financially recover from this. Curious what we're actually gonna make? Well, in this video, we're gonna make this guy right here. So it's the seat on top, and then when you get the top off, you got your extension cord, you hook a drill up to it, you wind it all up. I show you how to make one. Are you gonna want it by the end of the video? I don't know. Are you gonna be able to do it by the end of the video? I don't know. Did I do it? Yes. Did it come out great? Not really. Should we try it anyway? Sure, let's go ahead. On the plus side, it still functions really well as a stool. Now it is 32 degrees outside, super cold. The Comet's been sitting. So we're gonna take it out for a drive. It doesn't have heat. I just got out of the shower, so I'm gonna be a little bit cold. But we're gonna run to the hardware store, pick up some parts. I've got a super long old extension cord there, and I'm gonna make a DIY hose reel based on something I saw online. We're gonna try and recreate it to just help clean up the garage space, make it a little bit more usable. When you've got an old girl like this, it's always good to just kind of give it a once over before you fire up. Hit the road, belt's tight. Let's check the radiator fluid here. Okay, got plenty. Hopefully that's antifreeze. And then we'll check the oil. Oh yeah, she looks great. Oil looks good in this thing. You know, it's funny, I realized the other day, I've actually got three 302s. I've got a 302 small block Ford. I've obviously got the Coyote and the 2021 Mach 1. And then also, that's a 305 in my Chevy truck. So we like the 5.0s here. But let's get the cameras hooked up, get this thing on the road. So I have found the trick with this style Edelbrock carburetor, even when it's cold, just one pump of the gas. That's all you need. Obviously make sure you're in neutral first. But the only thing that's weird with these I've noticed is that the hot restarts can be a little funky, but usually cold, it's okay. So one pump of the gas. 30 degrees outside. So, hey man, I love these carburetors. I think they're great. But we'll let it warm up for a little bit. We'll back it out of the garage. Here's my thought with these old cars. They're meant to be driven. I know a lot of people put them away, you know, in the winter time, and hey, I get it. You know, if there's salt and stuff on the road, you got a nice paint job, and you know, but the thing is, they're meant to be driven, you know, so go out and drive the darn thing. This is also how you figure out the quirks in these things. If you don't drive them, you get surprised when stuff doesn't work right, but when you drive them, then you kind of know. You hear that whistling, that's something I got to address. That's the window seals are blown out on this thing, and it's kind of a pain to drive, especially when you're on the freeway. Around town, it's not too bad, but it really isn't fun at high speeds because you just get that high-pitched whistling noise. You can probably take some duct tape or something and just try and seal it up a little bit, but I have the seals, I just need to get around to doing it. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. So basically, I'm going to use a bucket to make a hose reel. I'm going to get like a little bearing assembly from like a Lazy Susan like you'd have inside in your kitchen, you know, and I'm going to make a hose reel out of a bucket to store this cord because I've got this extension cord left over. It's super heavy duty. It's like at least 100 feet long. The only problem is when you go to make one of these out of a bucket, I don't think a 5-gallon bucket is going to cut it for me, just because the cord is so thick. So we're going to try and get a 6-gallon bucket, which are a little harder to come by and a little more expensive, and I'm hoping that that is going to work out for me. So we're going to run in here to the sporting goods store because you can't get a 5-gallon bucket, or a 6-gallon bucket I should say, at like a Home Depot or a Harbor Freight or a Lowe's or anything like that. Normally you can make these out of your standard 5-gallon bucket, but unfortunately the cord that I have is pretty long and it's a pretty thick cord. It's super heavy duty, so we're going to use a 6-gallon bucket. It also has a padded lid, which we're going to try and keep. That way we can sit on the bucket when we're not using it for an extension cord, and we've got a place to sit. So, gonna do that. Got some ABS plastic for the center, some leftover wood, got to cut out some circles, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so first things first, I went ahead and grabbed some old scrap 3/4 inch plywood that I had around. When you make your circles, this is probably not the best way to do it. You'll see me do it a better way in the future. But if you do want to use your bucket, you can do that. Just try and cut it smaller than the OD of the bucket.
I would say at least 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch shorter. This is kind of my second iteration here. I start to wise up and come up with a much better way of doing this. So I take a basic piece of metal, drill a hole, that's my center point, and then I trace around the radius. That becomes the diameter, and then you can go ahead and get really good circles. You saw there a second ago I was cutting up some ABS plastic. That's going to be the center of the reel, and then I also mark the diameter to know where to place that so it's centered, and then also where to place the Lazy Susan, which we'll talk about here in a second, and that's really key. You do have to cut a hole in the side of your bucket. How big you cut the hole is kind of up to you, but I think I'm going to go back at the end after all is said and done and add some sort of protection to the sides of the bucket, because that plastic can be kind of sharp. You want to be careful. You don't want to damage your extension cord in the process. So we'll flip around. We'll talk about the Lazy Susan.
Okay, you got the basic idea. We got this guy right here. Attached to the bottom is just a little bearing for like a Lazy Susan. I highly recommend, if you're going to do something like this, to use a straight edge like I did with a piece of aluminum to get your holes. And then once you get your circle, no matter where you start in your wood, as long as you screw back to there, that'll always be your center point. So your top's going to be a little bit bigger than your bottom, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, I mean, you can see it's a little out of round. That's okay. And then the other thing I wanted to do was leave enough room, hopefully in the top, so I can coil up a little bit of cord here on the top and be able to put the lid back on and then have my carrying handle. And then I also have to go ahead and cut a hole in this for the cord to come through.
This is where the wheels really start to fall off the bus. I use a cheapo hole saw that I had. It wasn't deep enough. I try to make it work. I almost cut myself. I look at my other hole saw, it's too big. Then I decide to flip it over and it works. I don't cut myself, so I guess all is well, sort of. And then I realize, oh crap, I need a way to wind this thing, and I really should have put something in the center. So now I have to disassemble everything and go ahead and put a bolt through there. So I take my other crappy paddle bit and drill my hole through there. I'm not super happy at this point because I've already assembled everything and I'm having to redo it, but that's okay, I guess. Technically, there's probably a better way of doing this. I can probably talk about that later. But anyways, it's coming back together and we'll get a chance to try it here in a second. Time-lapse doesn't really do it justice. Here's where it really starts to get funny. So you got to stretch your cord out super long, and then I put my drill on there. I was trying to coil it up. It got bound up. I had to undo it and then redo everything and kind of come out of the frame here. You can't see me. I'm trying to get my cord all straight again. I got to put it all back together. Basically, it's a really good idea in theory, but unless you have a way, you see me guiding it with my hand, unless you have a good way to guide everything in with your hand, it never really goes in the way you picture it. I turned it on its side there for a second. I know you can't see it in the picture, but that seemed to help a little bit. And then this time I got it finally to a good spot, and I just unravel it and then coil it back up again with the drill a few times just to get it all in place. And finally, it's halfway decent, but again, it's one of these things you see online, you think it's going to turn out great, and it just doesn't turn out as good.
All right, so here's the finished product. Nice thing about it, though, I will say, is it does get all your stuff in one location. It doubles as a stool. You can fit, if you wanted to put some extra tools or like the bit, to unravel this in here, you could. You can hide it underneath the top. And, it coils it up nice. Before, this thing was all over the floor. So I guess it's not, a total loss, but I don't know if I'd recommend you guys spending an hour or two, plus with how much things cost these days. Maybe not worth it, but if you've got a super, super long cord, hey, go ahead, give it a try. I promised you guys some more videos outside the car of the new camera, so I will show you those now.
Hey guys, hope you liked the video. Again, just wanted to throw something together. I love doing little projects on weekends. That was my little project. It kind of worked out, and at least it solved the issue of getting things off the floor, which is always nice. So, more videos to come. I do want to address some more things with the Comet, especially in the trunk. I've got to put the under tray back on this car. At some point, we're going to be messing with the exhaust, but that's probably in the future. And then also, I might have some audio upgrades to the green truck. So, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and see you next time on Truck and Roll.